Hey everybody, this is Keith Saarloos, and you are listening to Crazy Country 105.9, and this is Chopping It Up, the number one rated radio station show at 10 a.m. in the Santa Ynez Valley. Today we're going to have a special episode, and this is a special episode because the reason I wanted to do this, and the reason I started all of this in the first place, was to tell the stories of this valley, and not just tell the stories of places, but to tell the stories of people. And recently, we lost John Cody. And John Cody was a very, very big tree in this valley. He is a local legend. He's a hero. He's what a lot of people on Instagram act like they are, and he actually was it, and he was it a long, long time ago. So we're going to spend the next half hour talking to his beautiful daughter, Emily.
Hello.
All about her dad. All about what he did, his story, who he was, the incredible things that we can now tell, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Emily, I'm going to let you talk as long as you want. Okay. And I will just say my introduction to your family was walking down the street in Los Olivos and getting to know your family just literally in Los Olivos. Then one day, someone said to me, "You know, John has the coolest house you've ever seen in the middle of the forest." And I said, "What? Are you serious?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's unbelievable." My little touch on your family earlier than that was I was a little kid that grew up in Southern California, and there was a guy at Knott's Berry Farm that was carving this big green rock into a dinosaur for the entrance of a fun ride that was like the newest ride ever. It's probably 30 years old now or 40 years old now. Older, called Kingdom of the Dinosaurs. And I remember watching your dad, who I didn't know was your dad. Like I was a little kid, carving this huge piece of serpentine.
Yes.
Taken probably from the hills up here.
No, I think it came from China. I think they shipped it in.
Perfect.
I was there too, but I was 3, so I don't have a good memory of it, but I do remember a lot of it.
Okay. So that's how I got introduced to your dad.
That's pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is.
The Cody Gallery.
Yes.
Right? Where you had the pointillist artist hanging on the wall. And I remember walking in there and going, these should be in a museum.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you know, I've talked too much. Where's your dad from? Where did this whole story start?
Okay, so what he told me, so I spent a majority of my life with him. So he told me a lot, and I think I knew him better than anyone. And I feel really blessed to have had that opportunity because a lot of people don't get that.
Yes.
And he told me he was born in New Jersey, New York, which is so like out of character for what you would imagine him, because when you see him on the street with his long hair and is covered in stone dust, just like I am right now.
You are, absolutely.
And he grew up there. Yep. His dad was, I believe, a CPA, and so he moved around quite a bit when he was young. Yep. And he ended up, I think, in South Carolina. When he was young, around 12 to 14, you know, he struggled with dyslexia pretty seriously. Yeah. And I think that really actually molded who he really is and was, because he was so insecure that he would find different ways to prove how intelligent he really was.
Interesting.
And he found, you know, he told me stories about how he would try to prove himself by cracking safes and breaking into vending machines. Awesome. And just to prove to his friends that he could do it. And
John Cody's the guy I think he was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the rowdy stories that he told me that you would never imagine, because he was so conservative and calm. You would never think that there would be this rowdy side to him. And he truly was. And he disliked school because he felt so insecure that he tried to escape so many times. And he built these elaborate cabins out in the woods, and he would share it with
when he was 12 years. How old was he?
12 to 14. I actually had a picture, and I wish I could find it. It's him and his boys out in the woods. And his nickname was Jungle Jack. And everybody called him Jungle Jack. And he would go spend all his time out there with his buddies building these great cabins. And he was legendary for that as a child. I have letters from some of his friends still to this day being so like impressed with his ability to be creative and innovative and taking trash from construction sites and building these awesome cabins out in the woods.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty cool.
How did he get from let's say New Jersey or South Carolina, where he was.
Okay, so what happened was, the school situation for him wasn't great. So I think he ran away, basically. His parents chased him down, sent the cops after him, shooting at his feet kind of deal, Wild West story.
Of course.
And I think finally they just gave up and let him live his life. And so he lived on Myrtle Beach for a while. And I think that's, kind of initially where he ended up meeting Connie, his first wife. Mm-hmm. And she was, basically, I think she was a couple years older than him. She had a little boy named Ernie already. So she was already a mother. And, he was kind of following that creative path, trying to work in a leather shop. And, these people, they were all creative,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 1967, 66, something around there.
Making money with your hands.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't really have a job. So he was, searching for what he was going to do. Mm-hmm. And so they finally decided to come out to California because Connie's family was from here, and they ended up in Solvang, which is pretty hilarious. But, he got here and he liked it. He saw the country.
I don't know if it's hilarious. That feels just right to me for now.
For sure.
Now,
I mean, Solvang back then was, it was impressive. They would, Danish days, there would be like, tens of thousands of people here. And I think he really thrived in this area because of the little, the community, the people, the old timers. He really, really admired, the old time, ranch families and just the people here. And so when he was here, he had right where we're sitting, I think, is like where the house was.
Really?
Yes. And he had like a $50 rent. All the kids in town, the Palmers, all the boys, awesome. they all gravitated to him because he was the coolest guy that they'd ever met. He was probably 18, 19 years old, I think. And
has already lived a life.
He's already lived a full life, and he was, wild and free, and he was innovative, and he could do anything. So they were inspired by it. And he was really blessed to be here in Solvang because there was these, pretty great galleries. And this one gallery here on Copenhagen, Cliff Aronson, I believe, owned it. And I'm not sure if that's fact or not, but he talked about it. And he was instantly recognized worldwide. He became an instant success. He was, this handsome 20-year-old or 18 to 20 years old, in between there.
Prime of his life.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and they promoted him, which was really the beginning of his career.
Was he painting? Was he sculpting?
Sculpting only. Okay. But, he
self-taught.
Self-taught. Okay. He's always been very creative. He could see, the beauty in anything. And this valley was number one. And then the serpentine up on Figueroa Mountain was accessible, and he would take it. He'd go up there. He had one little spot that I still know of today that he would go to, and he would call them nuggets because serpentine is, it has lots of fractures in it and it's hard to carve. It's really hard to carve. And he would pick them up and bring them to Solvang, carve these awesome pieces, hammer and chisel back then. He didn't have grinders or air tools or anything. So that everything was hand done. He took that and he really developed like this great career right away. And he was, doing well, making money, super successful, very young, handsome. He had started his own family with, he had my little sister, I think my older sister, was born, I think when he was 19. So he was a father of two at the time. He was living the life. He was like the king of Solvang. Yeah. And, he really wanted to take that and live a life, off grid. And it's really hard to do when you have to, make money. You have to be present. You have to be a part of the community. It's 9 to 5, and that was never him. So the gallery provided that kind of freedom where he could carve at home, turn a piece in or have a show and be successful with these sculptures. Mm-hmm. And so I think in 1972, he had gone for a hike down the Manzana, and he hiked up into the meadow that is now the ranch that, we are all, it's all ours now. Thank God, Dad. Yeah. And
the Cody Corner.
Yeah, it's the cabin. And he walked in and he said it was like heaven on earth. Yeah. And he had to know. And it just happened to be privately owned, which is very, it's actually very amazing that it was, because nothing in the backcountry, wilderness, or anything is privately owned.
So just to step in and acting like the person listening right now.
Yes.
I've had the opportunity to go out there, which is unbelievable. But your driveway is, let's just say, to get to Los Olivos, how many miles is it from the flagpole to this piece of property you're talking about that's back in the basically the Los Padres National Forest wilderness?
Yes, it's 37 miles.
37-mile driveway.
So it's a 13-mile dirt road, and then it hits pavement right there at Davy Brown, and I think it's like, 25 or 24 miles there. So it's a 2-hour drive if you're lucky.
See, I'm just saying that just to give a context, because when I think about that drive, right, or that 30 miles, that's Los Olivos to Santa Barbara.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, and so what you're talking about is this is Los Olivos to the middle of the wilderness.
Yes.
The same distance.
Yes.
And so he came across this little area with a couple little rivers in it.
Yep.
And like the sculptor, like the artist that he was,
yes,
saw what could be there.
Yes, he just had this idea that he was going to be able to do it. And so his friend, I believe it was Dave Davis from Los Olivos, introduced him to Al Davis, the original owner, the Davis family. And they must have struck up a really great friendship because, you don't just sell your property off when you've had it for over 100 years in your family, or believe that anybody could live there at all.
Yeah.
And, there's no power, there's no water, there was nothing. The road was a Jeep road. It was inaccessible. Trees are down all the time. You need to have a bulldozer for maintenance, and you have to have every tool imaginable to be able to get there.
Correct.
And so that's how he ended up buying the place. It was a handshake deal.
Awesome.
And the Al Davis said, I want you to live here for 2 years before we commit to the sale, because he wanted to see if it was even possible, if my dad actually had enough grit to do it.
Okay.
And my dad loaded up. He loaded up his family, his wife Connie, Ernie, and Anna. They moved in. He purchased a military tent and lived in that, where the barbecue area is now, for 2 years.
Yeah.
While he built the house. He always said that the house was, never finished, which is very true, but it was livable after 2 years. But I can't imagine living in a tent with a little family in the middle of nowhere,
40 miles out.
Yes.
In the middle of the country.
Just coming to town to get groceries was an absolute, it was a day's
gasoline
journey.
Or diesel or anything.
Gas, food, everything. I can't even imagine.
So I want to put everybody in perspective on this. The house that he built out there is not I need to give this its proper due. Has it been in Architectural Digest?
No,
but it's been in some
National Geographic and Santa Barbara Magazine.
Right. And I just remember pulling up going, what is this?
Yeah.
Because it is your dad built it with his own 2 hands.
Yes, he did.
Stacking rocks like an artist.
Yeah, he made forms, and he used all the material from the property, everything he could. And at one point it was like assessed, and they called it post and rubble because it was recycled everything. I can go and point out every window and tell you where it came from, because he told me every detail of every little piece on that property.
Tell me about the hot tub.
The hot tub is an ocean-buoy. It is, that you make a fire underneath it, you fill it with water. I mean, it's like the witch's brew.
It's like it's from Bugs Bunny cartoon.
100%.
It's a cauldron that you build a fire underneath.
Yeah, he made a grotto, so it was safer for kids. It was it's the most amazing thing, because I could go anywhere in the world and people know about this hot tub.
It's unreal.
Yes, but he did tell me that he couldn't take credit for it. Okay. But our fireplace inside the house is also an ocean buoy.
Yes.
And he had a friend up on the San Marcos Pass who I think is related to somebody you and I know.
Yeah.
Airtrix, what's his name?
Oh, Chris Wood.
Chris. So Chris Wood's uncle, I believe, is the one my dad collaborated with on these projects.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So my dad had the ocean buoy fireplace, and I think Chris Wood's uncle had the hot tub, and so they shared their little dream of having these great projects.
Yeah.
And so my dad always gave him the credit for that, even though people relate to it as John's hot tub.
When we being able to go out there, just number one feels like a gift, but
for sure
being out there seeing the river crossings and everything that's out there, and being able to talk to your dad about water, about how he hand dug this well.
Yes.
Go ahead. Tell
Okay,
the story.
so I always say that the well is basically the heart of that place.
Yeah.
We never really needed power. We had kerosene lamps as kids. Like Flint and I grew up. We were feral, wild kids.
Yeah.
We had no power. We had Christmas lights in the house with generators for the evenings, But that well was amazing. So it was dug. The homesteaders prior to my dad living there dug it, but it was filled in. So he uncovered it and dug it out. He actually dug it down by hand to 50 feet, and he put like an oil jack pump on it, with a sucker rod and then a cap on top. And that has provided the water for that ranch for the last 53 years or 4 years. And it is the coolest thing. You drive in, drive up the little driveway, and it's right on the right, and it's usually on, and it's pumping, and it looks like we're making oil, but it's water.
So he was saying that as soon as he stacked all the rocks around it like an artist would.
Yes.
Right? So basically it's this pebble tile going all the way down. And when you say 50 feet, this is the part when I went, what?
Yeah.
He's like, I would get down and I would dig down and I got to 50 feet.
Yeah.
Which gave me, even when you said it here, it gave me claustrophobia.
For sure. Very dangerous.
Because if you think about it, the tallest building, let's just say in Solvang, is 35 feet?
Yes.
Right? Maybe.
Yes.
And now you're almost taking any two-story house and doubling it and then saying, it's like there will be blood.
Yes.
Right? Where every day you're going down a shaft.
And bucketing out and basically I'm not sure if he cemented in the bottom of it, but I'm pretty sure that he did.
Right.
I was pretty little. He actually had to redig it because during the drought in the 90s, it did dry up. And we would drive upstream with these 55-gallon drums, and he had bored a hole into one of the waterfalls in one of the canyons to get our water for like a year. And for 1 year when it was really bad. But so then the following year, my crazy Uncle Buddy from the Midwest, who was very much an engineer, they redug it and they dug it deeper. And to this day, it hasn't dried up. Even with this long drought that we just experienced.
We had a 20-year drought.
That was the worst. That was the worst I've ever seen it. And there was one point where we'd have to actually prime it just to get the water to pump. So. Got it. That was the worst part, but the well is amazing. And, where there's a need, where there's a will, there's a way. And he did it. He achieved a lot of things where it was impossible.
That's the word. Your dad achieved.
He did.
That is such brings tears to my eyes when I'm just thinking about it, because as I was driving over here and knowing we're going to talk about your dad.
Yeah.
Artist is an easy word.
Yes.
I would say, I have never met an overachiever.
Oh, agreed.
Of that level.
I know. I was thinking about all the things that I could think of saying, and I knew that there was nothing that could do him any justice. But there was one thing that I think the hardest part of losing him and not having him.
Yeah. So, by the way, everyone, we're taking a little second.
Okay.
We're talking to Emily Cody about her father, John Cody, and the incredible life that he lived. So anybody just tuning in, I was supposed to redo that. I'm sorry, but keep going. I didn't mean to step on you.
No, it's fine. I was just thinking the one thing for me, I think that sinks in the most by losing him is, we had such a special relationship that, I was able to create a lot of things with him for the last 18 years. And the best part about being with him every day is the confidence that he would give you, but also I have a very creative eye as well, not in carving sculptures, but, in masonry and in building. And I've always loved that the most. But having my dad, all of the things that I could ever think of and imagine and want to create, I always had him to execute it for me and with me and make it my dream or my vision possible. And I feel like, it's so hard to look around at all our friends and find those people that actually can do that for me now. Or maybe this is my journey.
Maybe that's your job.
This is my journey to figure it out on my own. Yeah. And that is, it's very terrifying, but I feel like I just tell myself, okay, what would John Cody do? What would Dad do? And if I just slow down a little bit and just be patient like he was, because he was by far the most patient man that I had ever met. And when I do that, and the projects that I've done in the last month, it always works. And I think that's like the God thing, the universal God particles that he always talked about, subatomic particles, and, the universe, and touching base with yourself, and getting to know yourself and be confident.
Yeah.
And that's tough. It's tough when your dad is your king, and your confidence.
Your hero.
My hero, my best friend in the whole wide world.
The part I loved when that car hit the corner right there on
the wall, the Hollister wall.
There you go. So the Hollister wall in Los Olivos is located basically on Alamo, Pintado, and what's that?
Santa Barbara Avenue.
Santa Barbara Avenue. And somebody hit it and knocked it over, right?
The owner said that it fell over.
Okay, sure.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, it always falls on a corner, right? But when I saw you and your dad there,
yeah,
I was like, oh, this is gonna be good, right? And
that was the hardest job I've ever done, because I couldn't do it because everybody kept stopping.
I know you're dad. Hey, what are you doing?
It was like the social club.
No, but I loved it because when you would drive by, you would see.
Yeah.
I got to see from a car window.
Yeah.
Right. What you got to see face to face with your dad.
Yes.
Where day by day, 100-some-odd-year wall.
Yeah.
Who knows how long? Slowly reformed itself.
Yeah,
and you can't tell.
The only thing that you can tell is that the moss had grown on it for 100 years, and it might take 100 years for that moss to grow back.
Agreed. But seeing your guys' hands go on it, there's one thing of like, oh, we'll just rebuild a wall. But then there's another thing where an artist lovingly and painstakingly, you and your father, that gift. I mean, so you know, from now on, right? You drive by that wall, your eyes will always go to it, because I know it does.
Yeah, it does.
My eyes always go to it, and I'm like, there's the lasting. Like there is proof of you and your dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that was like a labor of love. We were going to do that because it drove us crazy to see it in that condition.
Sure.
And we talked about it. And then I believe it was, somebody brought it up to me, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Was it Herthel? It's got to be Mark.
It will absolutely Mark Herthel.
Yeah, Mark. Hey, are you going to fix this or what?
Huge community supporter. Gotta love the
That's
Herthels.
right.
And that makes me so happy to be a part of Los Olivos, by the way, is that there's people like you and Mark still around, but we were like, let's just go over there and do it ourselves. But I mean, my dad and I by ourselves, doing that, it would have been a challenge. So we had some helpers and some donations, and it really worked out. And it's fun to look at, it is.
Tell me more stories about your dad.
Well, okay. So he moves to the mountains. He builds this great house. He raises his daughter, Anna, and his adopted son, Ernie. And, he really established some great relationships with some people in the valley. The Chamberlain family was a hub for him. I truly believe that the beginning of his mountain career life and building would have not really been possible without these people. He needed a place to stay when he came to town. He needed the wisdom of the elders to support him, and he did get a lot of support from these people. I mean, he needed the mechanics' help for the bulldozers. I mean, we were running cable rig D6s in the mountains, and that's not an easy task.
That's not where they're supposed to be.
It's really scary.
No.
I mean, it's something like, it's something that like, you would see in an Alex Madonna video, like on YouTube. Like that's what it was. Like he was making roads.
It's real cowboy stuff.
For sure. I mean, in the roughest conditions ever. And, so he had great friends in town that he admired, and he would tell me these awesome stories about these people. Max Holman was his mechanic friend, and Ted Chamberlain. Yeah. He loved Ted. He had a good relationship with Midland School, which was, a huge part of my life and all of my family. And he was able to always, when I was little, we would get on the front of the motorcycle. I would be on the front of his motorcycle, and my brother would be on my mother's, and we would ride the Sulphur Springs Trail down to Midland, and we'd leave our bikes. And I truly believe that Midland was society. And Midland is a rural college prep high school.
Sure.
In the middle of nowhere.
Where they're cutting their own wood.
Yeah. And, you know, and these kids had to make fires in their little dorm rooms or whatever you want to call them. And my dad actually made all those fireplaces, by the way. I think they must have replaced them because it can't be safe or legal.
We shouldn't say, well, they're of course legal.
Of course.
100%.
Okay, we'll leave that alone. But that was the best part, like, of my childhood, was having these wonderful people that he admired from Midland, Chris and Peggy Lauer, you know, these teachers that really supported him, even though, you know, he wasn't the kind of guy to go to school, and he left school, but, you know, he really had a lot of support from these, you know, well-educated men and women. And I think that gave him a lot of confidence to do a lot of things. Because I think, you know, towards the end of his life, and, you know, the last maybe 10 years, he was truly, you know, at peace with all of that, I think. I think he had realized that, you know, he was very worthy of everything that he was. Yeah. And that's hard to, you know, I don't know, absorb as me, because I'm like, you're the smartest person I know. Like, you are literally the smartest person I know. Don't ever put yourself down, ever. And he would. And I would have to, you know, yell at him, and he'd always yell back, and we'd fight and whatever. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it was so great and rewarding, because, you know, we were together, and, you know, that was our relationship. So, you know, he taught me a lot about being confident too. So, you know, that's something that I'm working on, you know, every day.
Yeah. You know, we could talk about this for hours.
I know.
Honestly.
Oh, I know.
But the thing I would always say to, you know, there's, and take this as it is meant. The valley in particular, I don't know what it is, but it is like you're talking about, the, you know, God particles or spirit, you know, that piece of it. You know, north of this little mountain range that runs east and west, and another one that runs north and south. This is truly one of the most unique places in the world, weather-wise, water-wise, soil-wise, rock-wise.
It is.
Animals. It's the beginning, like you go up in those mountains, and you can see, if you look at the south-facing hillsides, you see chaparral and agave and cactus. And if you turn and look at the north-facing hillsides, you see pine trees, right?
Digger pines. Oak trees.
Right.
It's amazing. It's God's country.
It is. It's that moment where the Southwest ends and the Pacific Northwest begins. And the further you get back into those mountains, the more magical it becomes.
It is. It is heaven. And, you know, I think he was probably, you know, one of those people that were fully, like, at one with Mother Nature. Yeah. And, you know, the society rules, he just never followed. I don't think he could. And I think that's why he thrived in the mountains, and, you know, on the ranch, whether we were working or hiking or hunting or dozing, he was just always just so, you know, at peace with it, you know, all the way to the very end. And I think that's why working with stone worked so well for him. Yeah. Because he took something from Mother Nature and created, you know, something amazing for somebody to touch and feel and have in their house that they absolutely loved.
Artists are a very, very unique breed.
They are.
Because, like you were just describing, to be able to see the things that don't exist, and through effort and knowledge and piecing it all together and bringing something out of nothing until you're satisfied. Yes.
And he was never satisfied with his work, by the way. Yeah. He would criticize it, but only until he would come back a year or two later and see it, and he'd go, I'll be damned, that is good.
That's exactly it.
And in the end of, you know, when we started working and doing masonry, you know, I felt that same way. Every project that we did, I absolutely hated it. And then we would come back, and, you know, our friends would invite us back to see the fireplace or see the barbecue pit or, you know, whatever it was. And I would go, oh my God, that's awesome. Like,
did I do that?
So critical. We pick everything apart, and that's, you know, it's our personality, and that's an artist personality for sure. I mean, I'm sure with a lot of people doing a lot of different things, but for him, he was just so creative. I mean, he could take a pile of steel and turn it into a barbecue that was a train, you know, or,
yes.
Or,
Which you can still see.
You can still see right in Los Olivos, or, you know, like he could take a rock and turn it into like a crab. And, you know, that people, I mean, he could whip these things out, and it was just so outstanding. And to watch him do it was the most fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think the greatest part of his life was having grandkids. And, you know, we got blessed to have him, you know, take care of, well, me and my boys, to take care of my two boys for the last 11 years. And he would draw them these awesome cartoons of dozers and all these great things. And he was an amazing artist in all ways, painting, you know, drawing, sculptures, metalwork. He put things together that you wouldn't even imagine.
The way I've described it, and I don't know if I've ever said it to you, but, you know, I really look, as I try to make sense of all the people that were here before me doing the unbelievable things.
Yeah,
right.
Me too.
He is the Da Vinci of the Santa Ynez Valley.
I know. And it's so hard to like imagine him not being here with us, but he is with like all of us. I think his greatest accomplishment was his mentor. You know, he mentored so many people.
Absolutely.
He taught so many people how to find their inner artist, their inner, creative sides. And so I think, you know, with that, if we look around, there's so many people that he influenced that he's definitely still here with us, like with all of us.
Yep.
You know, and Los Olivos, he's Los Olivos, you know, like your dad and Doug Herthel and, you know, Fred Chamberlain and Willie and all the people that we've lost.
Yeah.
And, you know, that is, we take these people with us, and like you and I, we're the ones who have to keep it going now.
That's the truth.
And that's our job.
Yep.
And that's what they would want us to do. And, you know, we should be more than grateful to have this opportunity, because there's no place like the Santa Ynez. I mean, there are so many different personalities that are so fabulous, and
they all find it here.
And they find it here, and they come together here. I mean, from all over the world, and these people make this place so special.
I love this. This is exactly, I mean, your dad, everything he touched, he made more beautiful.
He did. And everything, you know, even people. Mm-hmm. And there were so many people, you know, that were, you know, that had been all over the world, and they would come to the ranch, and more than a few times they would literally sit there and look up at the pinnacles.
Yeah.
And like fall asleep and sleep for like 2 days, because it was so overwhelming for them. And they were so at peace and so calm, and they would leave and they would, you know, change their whole lives just from what they saw.
There is something that I think that is incredibly beautiful about anyone who does not feel like society fits them. And when you go out on the edge of the world, you are definitely on the edge of the world.
Yeah.
And you have to create everything that you want to see.
Yes.
And you have to make the things beautiful that you want to see. And to not be pushed and pulled and prodded at and talked down to or rubbed the wrong way by a society. And when you get to be out there in the world, and like your dad is forever, in the rest of my life will always be the example of that, where, you know, disconnecting and reconnecting, where he disconnected from, you know what, your guys' rules, I don't really need to play with these. I'm going to play by my own rules.
Yeah.
And then reconnecting with everything around him. Because if your dad was an accountant, it would be the greatest travesty that possibly could be. You know what I mean? You have to let an artist run.
Him doing what he did is very brave. It's super, it's I mean, nowadays it's almost crazy, because I feel like that, you know, he would always just say, oh, you know, everything's going to work out. And I'm like, we don't have any money for food. Like,
right.
What are you talking about? And sure enough, somebody would show up and they'd be like, hey, I have this project. And it would just set us right back up to being above even better.
Yeah.
And he had that way about being, you know, positive and calm, and he was so universal and so connected to the universe that things did work out for him. And that was so awesome. And he gave so much back that I think that it was all this, this flow of energy. So it came back to him in so many ways. Mm-hmm. And his artwork is truly, is truly the greatest part about him, I think, besides, his family.
Yeah.
And, he always used to tell people, if you ever want to see all my work, just drive up there to the Ballard Cemetery.
Yeah.
Because people would come to him asking for headstones for their loved ones because they really needed something to be able to touch when they lost someone. And so my dad would, either donate or whatever it was to give these people, these families, a headstone of their loved one. And there are so many sculptures that you can see in that cemetery.
Yeah.
And it is so cool. And I only wish to be anything like him, giving and loving and, as much as I can, disconnected from society, but still making a living.
So while we wrap this up, the one thing I want to do is promote you, because you have done a lot of work that I have seen that is absolutely beautiful. I mean, like the Sikh's front door and walking down, I'm like, is that a mountain lion?
Oh, yeah,
like,
I forgot about that. The patio, the flagstone.
Right. And I'm walking in, I'm like, that's pretty cool. How can people hire you? How can people support your art? How can people support what you do? Because if we're going to talk about, if you're a woman listening to this and you need the coolest thing ever built in your life, there is a woman sitting across from me that will do the right job. So
thanks.
What are you doing?
So right now I do masonry. So I try to stick to masonry projects. I stay in my lane. The things that I know I can do.
Got it.
I work for the people that I like.
Yep.
It doesn't always work out, but I try. So right now I'm currently doing a lot of outdoor fireplaces, indoor fireplaces, patios, custom veneer projects, skirts of homes, meanwhile keeping it artistic and so it doesn't look generic. I don't use fake stone. You can call me. I'm not going to do it if it's fake. Yeah. But that's my rule.
Got it.
I'm never going to go against. I
love it.
Never going to go against it.
I'm so into this. Keep going.
And so I try to just keep it as creative as possible, using all the material that, we can source out. I love my friends in the stone business here in town. They have a lot of material that I've used. I love to use native anything if it's on your property. I've done some outdoor fireplaces with native stone from the property, and that really is very, very spiritual to me and rewarding. If you have a river, like a river bed or a pile of rocks or anything like that, really is my specialty.
Awesome.
I try to just make sure that I do things that aren't, just something that looks like wallpaper. I like to do creative, abstract, but I will do whatever you ask as long as it's in that natural zone.
Got it.
And, I love new projects because something different, because it really spikes that
you are your
challenge.
You are your father's daughter.
It's a challenge. Everything's a challenge, and day one is always the worst.
Yes.
But get through it, and I've done so much work. My dad and I have done so much work on his property that I learned so much about just cement in general and timing and everything. And I got really lucky to learn a trade that wasn't. I would have never otherwise been doing this hadn't my dad and I just had that moment in history where we had that time together. Mm-hmm. And, we really built some pretty awesome stuff.
How do they get a hold of you?
You can call me at Manzana Masonry, 805-245-9127. You can always stop by the house in Los Olivos because everybody knows where we live. The doors are open. Come on in. Move in if you have to. I'm just kidding.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I know. But that's the way it was growing up there. We had I don't know how many people all the time.
Yell from the street.
Yell from the street. Just, stick a little note on there and just, I'll call you. I'll swing by and check out your project.
Well done.
But that's how you can get a hold of me, word of mouth. Ask somebody. Ask Keith.
Come
Keith
find
knows.
me. I'm easy to find.
Call.
I got your number.
Yeah, call Mark. They know. Hunt me down. No, I mean, everything has been word of mouth. I haven't advertised or anything, and I'm pretty fresh at this. I think it's only been about 3 years, and in the actual business portion of it. So you've
been doing this your whole
I've been
life.
doing it for way too long,
Yes.
but like I have a picture of myself when I was 3 years old with a trowel in my hand. So
my favorite part for everybody who can't see, of course, everybody, you are leaving all rock dust.
I'm so sorry. I'm literally covered in limestone.
See, this is the truth, right? The truth of all of this is a lot of people act like they are something.
Yeah.
And then there's people that actually are. And the truth of the matter is, if a Cody says they are, they are.
Yeah.
And that's the truth of it. Number one, thank you for coming in. Thank you for being a part of this. I love talking about your dad. Is there any art that people can see in the valley?
Yes.
Besides, maybe you could do a loop at the Ballard Cemetery.
You could do a loop at the Ballard Cemetery for sure. There is a little memorial at the Solvang school.
Perfect.
For a little boy that passed away. My dad did a soccer ball. It's outstanding. If you go to Santa Maria Courthouse, there is a condor out of steel. It's a steel condor in the courtyard. It is absolutely.
That's your dad.
That my dad made that.
Cow.
I know, with the baby on the wing.
That's awesome.
But on the other street, like catty corner to that, there is the dolphins that are in front of the museum building. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite pieces. We're trying to collaborate and do some things maybe for the Los Olivos Park.
That'd be awesome.
I'm hoping that could come together.
But that's going to.
For sure.
That'd be great.
There's some stones at the Natural History Museum. You got to find it. It's hard to find in Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
There is Rocco the dinosaur, I think, at Buena Vista Park up north now. They moved him.
It. Got it.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But that triceratops is awesome.
That thing, I just remember seeing
It's like
that
life size.
It is a life-size triceratops.
Yes.
That when I was a kid, I went, what the heck is that? I didn't know, like, you're a little kid and somebody's just, hammering, sanding and doing this. And you go back a couple months later or whatever. And then it's just like, it changed again. Like someone made this with their hands. This is insane.
But believe it or not, we had to live there while he made it. And it took months. And, it's impressive that he got it done that fast. He had a lot of help. Carlisle Montgomery, Brian Davis. My mother was a big, my mother, Felicia, was a big influence on all that in the early years. And she worked a lot. She did a lot of work with him. Awesome. And that was really, really, really cool to watch as a kid.
Hey, the Cody family are the realest of the real. And thank you for coming in. I'm so glad we got to talk about your dad.
Yeah.
You are such a sweetie. Hire her to make your dreams come true. And
I'll try.
She'll try. She'll argue with you.
Maybe my dream.
You're making her.
I'm just kidding.
That's the best. Like every artist, what did Da Vinci say, or what was the thing? He goes, "I just let them tell me what they want, and then I do what I want." And I'm like, "That's the way to go."
You just guide them to. This is what you want.
This is. Trust me. Trust me. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Keith.
I'm gonna definitely send this over to you because just talking about your dad,
I wish I could tell more, but I could go on for years.
We'll do this again.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Make a list of the stories, and we'll come back in and talk.
There's so many.
I love it. I love it. So everybody, this has been Keith Saarloos and Emily Cody. Hire her for your next job, in all honesty. Track me down. Find her on Instagram. Phone number's a little earlier. This has been Chopping It Up with Keith Saarloos. Back to your regularly scheduled programming.